Hi, everyone. It's David and Christy from Our Haunted Lives. We want to thank everybody for joining in. I know we said we'd be on around like 10 o'clock, but
The
unfortunately, it was
rain.
pouring down rain here in Pickens, so everything had to get pushed back. We had to move our site over. The people were up on stage, but we're really excited to talk to Dan and Scott from the Paranormal Research Institute. They just did an incredible presentation.
Incredible presentation.
And it's kind of some of the things that we love, Christy,
Yes,
of
definitely.
people that really kind of push the envelope on things, and that's what's really interesting, Dan. So why don't you give you and Scott, why don't you give people a little bit of a background of what the PRI is and kind of how you guys are pushing the envelope a little bit?
So basically, the PRI, about 2014, I was looking at the way paranormal investigation was going, and understanding, people that believe in the paranormal believed in it. Everybody else poo-pooed it, but it was kind of a matter of statistics. There's way too many people that had experiences for it to not be real. And so I decided we're looking at things the wrong way.
Okay.
We're basically trying to justify what we believe, aka ghosts, demons, spirits, etc. We see something happen we don't understand, and immediately it goes to it's a demon or a ghost.
Automatically.
Be
This
careful.
is so
Be
true.
careful.
Won't name any names.
No names named.
We're not naming
What?
any names, but
Come on, Scott. No PD on the show. No PD, okay?
You had to.
That's
Every
awesome.
show.
No, it's great. It's great.
But so basically it was like, maybe instead of just jumping to it's this entity out of folklore, which is really what ghosts, demons, everything else is.
Sure.
It's
Right,
stories from our
right.
past. Maybe if we go to just the next logical step and start to identify things as a paranormal event.
Okay.
And how do you, basically the big thing was, how do you measure something that you can't measure?
Sure.
How do you see something that you can't see?
Exactly,
How do you
exactly,
do anything that you can't see?
And so it was kind of what methodology can we use?
Mhm.
And at the time, when I first hit the concept, I was living in a cabin up in Alaska. I lived remote in Alaska for a few years.
Brave soul.
And so it gives you a lot of time to think and kind of objectively look.
Right.
And once I came down here, I met Scott, and we started talking over this and what can we do and how do we do it. And that's kind of where the PRI came from. And the cartography and the objective observation.
Sure.
Really
Why don't you explain a little bit about the cartography and what exactly that is?
Yeah, please, Scott. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Scott from the Paranormal Research Institute, and like Dan said, I met him at was actually a ghost discussion group at a local bookstore in town. But and it's another story. But anyway, yeah, cartography is basically mapping an investigation. It's logging everything. Each team is connected by radio to a cartographer. The cartographer sits in what was normally known as Command Central.
Sure.
And a team will radio to the cartography if they experience anything like subjectively or objectively.
Okay.
It could be a K2 hit that reaches the red.
Yeah.
Or it could be a medium in our group that has a feeling of, something, some entity or whatever.
So you're collecting hard data.
Yes.
Is what you're doing. Okay.
And it's all centrally located. You've got one person sitting there.
One person
writing it all down.
And we found that the cartographer being outside the investigation allows them to focus solely on writing everything down.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
And by the minute, they write down by the minute when something happens, who it happens to, and what it is.
That's incredible because
very interesting.
Yeah, one of the things of we've met Ron and Lourdes out of New Jersey, Yacovetti and Gonzalez.
Yes,
and they're on the cutting edge of DRV and ITC stuff, creating their own white noise. And the experience like we had in when we were with them in Salem was absolutely incredible. Of watching what they do and what you're doing of creating that hard data and stuff like that. It really goes against somebody going, oh, well, it was this because, it wasn't doing this before. Now we got the data.
Right.
Now it's not doing it again.
And now you can go back and reference it and look to see if
Yeah.
there's parallels between this happening at this
Yeah.
point and then something happening over here, and then you can kind of bridge them together.
We call that evidence stacking.
Yeah.
Evidence stacking. I
And
like
it's-
that.
It's,
I
it's
like
really,
that.
It's really good. And if you guys wanted to find out more about it, I'm sure they can contact you and things like that, because it's really essential in investigations of where you guys are going. And I think it's where investigating is going. And it's really great to have your feelings and things like that, or get those things. But when people don't document it,
It's lost.
That's exactly
Yeah.
it.
It's lost.
You know, I get a lot of people, because we do several events like this a year, you know.
Sure.
And we always get people that come up and they're like, look at this great evidence.
Yeah.
And I've seen some really cool pictures. I've seen some really excellent EVPs.
Yeah.
But as I have to explain to them, that's cool, but a million pictures and a million EVPs don't help us explain anything.
yeah,
No.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's anomalous
It's just
data.
a get. It's a get.
Yeah,
That's
you
it.
know, it's cool. I love it. I love
Yeah.
seeing them, and
Yeah.
you know, I hope people keep showing them to me.
yeah, absolutely,
But-
absolutely.
At the end of the day, what has it done?
It doesn't go any further to help.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, for
And so
real,
that's,
for
you know,
real.
we really, that's one of the big things we tell people is keep a log.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
if people are
Right.
coming to us, well, my house is haunted. Okay, well,
What's been
if
happening?
you have a real problem,
Let's see it.
you know,
Yeah.
then I need you to keep a log up.
Yeah.
You know, log it for a month and then get back to us.
Right.
Sure.
And we
Sure.
can look over the log and
Sure.
get an
And
idea.
somebody normally, if somebody thinks their house is haunted, they should be doing that anyway. And if they're not doing that,
We haven't
that's
had
my
a single
question.
person come back with a log. That's,
Wow.
You know, so yeah, you know,
Wow.
everybody
Kinda makes
wants
you think a
haunted
little bit.
house, but they don't want to put
the,
time into it.
right, and
So-
Yeah.
figuring out what's exactly going on.
Exactly. So
So what frequencies are you guys using on the radio? Because I know you can go up, I think, to 14.5. I think is what people are
I'm
kind of
gonna
saying.
be honest with you.
Okay.
That's a Bart question.
Okay, that's okay. That's fine.
He mentioned 900.
Was it
I
900?
think
Okay.
we are running in the 900
Okay.
frequency
Okay.
because it's open.
Yeah,
right
and that-
now,
yeah,
but
that's usually
the
clear and stuff
exact
like that,
frequency
yeah.
is absolutely a Bart question.
Yeah, because we have a friend who's doing DVR work too, Robert, with PD Region
Right,
Paranormal,
right.
and he's getting involved with like the ham radio aspect of it too.
Mhm.
So he's going up really high to like
Oh, yeah.
14.5 and things like that, and he's getting some really weird stuff up there and
Well,
some really good stuff.
One of the devices that we're looking at, been talking to Bart with, is I want to do an ITC device
Mhm.
that is a random frequency device that actually runs through the entire spectrum.
Okay,
Instead
yeah.
of the
Wow.
sweep where it goes from bottom to top,
Sure.
Right.
this will just hit all over the place. And
Well, because
like
there's
I
a
said-
certain frequency that a human ear can no longer
Oh,
hear.
absolutely.
But that doesn't mean that there's nothing going on at those
Yeah, yeah.
frequencies.
For
Exactly.
real,
Yeah,
for
we're trying to do, with light, we're trying to do the same type of thing. We
Okay.
actually had a gentleman, his name is John Long. He built us a UV spotlight,
Okay.
and it's actually running, I think it's
Okay.
365 nanometers. So
Okay.
it's above visible spectrum. You actually have to wear protective gear. We didn't bring it to this because the thing is actually dangerous.
Yeah.
It'll burn you if you get
Don't do
And
this at home.
He said nanometers.
Yes.
nanometers.
Yeah. It's
I don't
above the
know what
visible light
I don't know
spectrum.
what a nanometer is, but I'm learning something too at this
Yes.
Paracon.
Yeah.
So
It-
yeah,
it-
we're trying to do some experiments with UV lighting,
Okay.
above visible frequencies, that type of stuff
Wow.
too.
Well, yeah,
So-
those are the things that people, and I know everybody investigates differently, and we encourage that also.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but it's really fun to talk to people to kind of get into their nerdy side of it, because I love the nerdy side
He's
of it.
he's the tech person. I am definitely not. I don't know what a nanometer is. So yeah, I'm not
But
the tech person.
it's like one of the things that we do, and her boyfriend actually came up with it. So we call it the Barger theory, right? And it's like when you're walking through and your batteries get drained,
Mhm.
right? So he's like,
Why don't we
you know
feed
what?
it?
why don't you guys buy a car battery and then do experiments in there and see if it drains
See
some
if
of
it's
the car
draining.
battery.
Right.
So you get the data of how it was during what it was like before the investigation, what it was like during the investigation, and then what it was like
See if it was
afterwards.
drained.
And because if they can drain those batteries, they can drain
They
a
can
car
drain a car
battery too.
battery.
And so we would. That's very valid.
Yeah,
What we would probably do if we did that is we'd take the car battery and then we'd have a voltmeter on it.
Yeah.
And so we could actually
Exactly.
watch the current flow. We
Right.
could watch
Sure,
the voltage and then monitor it, to see if it was
Scott,
That's
thanks
what
for
he
the
did.
save.
that type of thing.
Yeah, thanks for the save, Scott.
We got a log back there, but it might not be working too well.
But that's what he did. He hooked up the voltmeters.
That's cool.
Yeah.
To
And
see.
what'd you get from it?
So with
We
what
didn't get a standard before,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we
so,
couldn't
but-
really.
but-
It
but
had
that's
drained some though.
what you're saying is where we're going and things like that, because we were going really hard for a couple years,
Right.
so we took a lot of time off. We just needed to recharge the batteries.
Yeah,
We need-
I
we
understand.
needed our batteries
Yeah.
recharged.
Well, yeah, I
It's
mean,
like any band, they take years off, and I was like, Christy, I'll see you in 4 months.
yeah.
It's
Well,
like Kiss, they retire and go
Yeah,
back.
Right.
yeah, for real,
Or
for
Motley
real,
Crue.
for real. So
we took a really hard hit during COVID.
Yeah.
What was it? A year and a half before
Yeah.
we could, because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
scattered,
Yeah,
and
for
so
real,
we
for real.
couldn't
Couldn't
see each
travel.
other for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, COVID kind of kicked the paranormal community's butt. for a
really
while.
did. You
Yes,
couldn't do
it did.
anything. It was there was like cemeteries or empty houses.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
That's about
then
it.
you have to watch yourself if you go into an empty house, because you don't know if they're squatters
Yeah,
or
exactly.
or
Or if
people.
you're trespassing, yeah.
Because then you're like, hey, what's good? I'm sorry, man. I'm out of here, but it's okay.
yeah.
So in cemeteries, it's
Yeah,
outside, and you can debate the evidence that you get.
Right. Yeah, I
so.
mean, I think the article probably would have been published about 2 years sooner if it hadn't been
Okay.
for COVID. It
Right.
really
Okay.
did put us
It pushed
behind.
everything back.
But the publication was awesome.
Okay.
Being published by the Society for Psychical Research, and I
Sure.
can never say that well.
It's okay.
They are the oldest parapsychological society in the world.
Oh wow.
So they're
Okay.
actually out of London, England.
Okay.
They've been around, I think, since 1863.
In fact, I've heard of
awesome.
them actually.
Yeah,
That's
it's,
awesome.
I mean, they're
That
kind
is
of
so
like
awesome.
the gold standard of parapsychology.
Right.
Okay.
And so for them to take our information and publish it as an
That's
article
amazing.
was
Sure.
really cool.
Absolutely
It's
amazing.
really cool.
I tell most groups that to investigate with us might not be the most entertaining thing in the world,
Yeah.
but for anybody that likes to geek out on this stuff, we're
Well,
here.
and you're going
Right
to
up
learn,
the alley,
and you're going to
yeah.
learn,
Yep.
and you're going to learn a different way to investigate that can help you down the road. Because if you get into the situation of where, okay, I need to do this, you
Mhm.
can fall back on that experience,
Right.
and it can help you advance your investigating skills and advance your team in the thing. Because then
Right.
people go, hey man, that's really cool. Where'd you learn it from? And they go, PRI, and then they come back to you, and then they're like, hey, how do I do that?
Right.
So it's really kind of cool
Well,
that you guys doing that.
That's the other thing. If we can get people that
There you go. I know. Sorry about that.
yeah. If we can get people to start using some of this methodology, the really cool thing is we can take their data then, we can add it into a database.
Sure.
And we can start looking, because the more data we get, then you can start
The
data
more
mining.
it's-
You can
Absolutely.
start
Right.
looking for
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so kind of the big goal of it, if we can pull these vast amounts of data and start seeing patterns, then the real experiments can start.
Sure.
Because right
Absolutely.
now, if you're doing a paranormal experiment, I liken it to fishing,
Mhm.
but you're fishing in a lake that you don't know what the bottom looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
With not
What are
really knowing if
currents?
there's fish in there.
Whether currents, is there wind?
Right.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
different.
And-
Yeah, exactly.
And you have no
exactly.
bait,
Yeah.
and so really that's what paranormal,
Sure.
what ghost
Right.
hunting is right
Sure.
now.
Right.
And so, ideally, eventually, I would love to be able to come up with this, essentially a ghost forecast.
Sure.
The
Oh, I like
times,
that.
The
It's
barometric
kinda cool.
pressures,
It's kinda cool.
Different factors.
I like
that
that.
would be.
Well, I know
conducive,
on the EDI or the EDI, however you want to call it, it gets into the barometric pressures,
Yeah.
the
Humidity
humidity,
and-
and the vibrations, and it all records that on the little recorder thingy.
Phone's ringing.
No.
Your phone's ringing. It's
Your
okay.
butt's ringing, Scott.
Yeah, Scott. No, all right.
On mute.
So we're going to wrap this up. We want to thank Scott and Dan from the Paranormal Research Institute. It was really good. Make sure to follow them. Let people know where they can find you.
So we're actually on Facebook under
Okay.
Paranormal Research Institute.
Okay.
If you want to email us, it's Paranormal Research Institute, all one word, @gmail.com.
Okay.
That's probably the easiest way right now. We have a website that'll be coming back up. We had one up for a while. We took it down. We're putting it back up soon. And yeah, get hold of us and we'll absolutely respond back. And
sounds
Awesome.
incredible.
I'd love to answer anybody's questions.
Yeah,
right
it sounds incredible. Everybody, thank you for joining in. We got to go back to work because I think Dr. Barrett is getting
Wrapping
done.
up.
But thank you so much for tuning in, and